Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a communication self-defense playbook for navigating the flawed logic we all face every single day. Because let's be honest, whether we're navigating a high-stakes board meeting or just trying to figure out weekend plans with a partner, having a solid grasp on clear communication is absolutely a superpower.
So, have you ever lost an argument to someone who is just completely wrong? We've all been trapped in discussions at work or at home that feel entirely off, but the other person just sounds so convincing. It's incredibly frustrating, right? You know the facts are on your side, yet somehow you find yourself cornered, agreeing to things that literally make no sense, or apologizing for things you didn't even do. Maybe it's a huge corporate strategy discussion, or maybe you're just intensely arguing over ordering pizza versus burgers. What we're experiencing in those moments isn't a lack of knowledge on your part, it's a vulnerability to logical fallacies.
Well, to fix this, we're going to expose these invisible traps together. Our agenda today covers the illusion of sound logic, the most common traps you'll run into, emotional and distraction tactics, some constructive intervention strategies, and finally, real-world practice.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, the illusion of sound logic, and how to recognize the invisible flaws in everyday arguments.
Now, you might be wondering, what exactly is a logical fallacy? Essentially, it's a defect that completely weakens an argument. But here's the kicker. It sounds incredibly compelling. What's fascinating here is that fallacies actually exploit our emotions, ambiguous language, or invalid logic to make a really terrible argument sound super persuasive. Because it sounds so good on the surface, we often just accept it without realizing the underlying foundation is completely broken.
You know what's really interesting? It's the difference between these two types. Formal fallacies are basically structural errors, kind of like a math equation that just doesn't add up. But it's the informal fallacies, the really messy, content-based ones, that actually dominate our daily conversations. These informal fallacies don't rely on strict logical formulas. Instead, they completely exploit our psychology, using irrelevant distractions and hidden assumptions to trip us up.
Moving right along to Section 2, the most common traps. Let's look at how flawed logic infiltrates the workplace, sales pitches, and even our relationships.
Let's look at the greatest hits, starting with a really big one, ad hominem. Notice how this fallacy entirely ignores the evidence of the project, the product, or the relationship issue, and instead attacks the individual's character. Like, if a manager says your project failed just because you're inexperienced, they are completely dodging the actual data or any flaws in the project plan. They are making it about you, not the facts.
So, what's your move here? Well, to disarm this, we absolutely don't fight back with insults. Instead, we calmly steer the conversation away from individual traits and right back to the evidence. Your disarm code is simple and neutral. I want to discuss the idea, not the person. By doing this, you refuse to take the bait and force the conversation back to objective criteria.
Next up is the straw man. Imagine suggesting a really slight budget shift to marketing, and suddenly a colleague explodes with a straw man argument, misrepresenting your moderate idea as an extreme disaster just to make it easier to knock down. They substitute your actual argument with a weak straw version. By shouting, "So you want a reproduction penniless?" they aren't arguing with you. They're arguing with a completely fictional, exaggerated version of you.
The secret weapon against this? Charitable interpretation. Always restate their actual argument before responding to ensure you aren't talking past each other. Your disarm code here is to just pause and say, "Let me clarify what I think you meant." Is that correct? It's a real game changer because it completely neutralizes the exaggeration and grounds the debate right back in reality.
Okay, let's jump into Section 3, emotional and distraction tactics. We're talking tangents, forced choices, and straight-up manipulation.
First up here is the red herring. This one introduces a totally irrelevant topic mid-argument just to distract you. So, you have to gently acknowledge the distraction but firmly redirect to the original issue. For instance, if you ask about a missing report and someone brings up how stressed they are throwing a red herring right into your path. You validate their stress, for sure, but you must say something like, "That's an important concern, but can we finish the discussion on the report first?"
Then we have the false dichotomy. People absolutely love to frame things as either-or because it literally pressures you into a corner. But as we know, the world is rarely black and white. When forced into this trap, your self-defense move is to point out that reality has multiple options. Your disarm code is simply asking, "Are there other possibilities? Let's list some other options before deciding."
And we can't forget appeals to fear and pity.
Whether it's a salesperson warning you'll be robbed without their specific security system, or a colleague pleading for an extension because of a flat tire, always acknowledge their feelings, but relentlessly check the logic. These tactics are incredibly manipulative because they hijack your empathy or your anxiety so you stop looking at the facts. Always bring it back to objective criteria.
Now for Section 4, Constructive Intervention Strategies. Think of this as your personal arsenal for diagnosing and fixing the remaining fallacies.
So, for fallacies that jump to conclusions, like hasty generalizations or slippery slopes, your absolute quickest fix is simply demanding step-by-step evidence. If someone claims that giving the team one flexible Friday will lead to the total collapse of the entire office, well, that's a slippery slope. Your fix? Break the argument into separate steps and calmly ask for the evidence connecting each specific point.
And what if someone relies on popularity or irrelevant experts to make their case? Politely remind them that the person making the claim carries the burden of providing actual data. Just because a celebrity endorses a supplement or everyone in the office agrees on a new software tool doesn't automatically make it right. Popularity is not proof, and you have every right to ask for independent support.
Taking a look at this master list of action steps, the takeaway is clear. Preventing fallacies is all about being clear, evidence-focused, and highly respectful. You pause and clarify to prevent misunderstandings. You politely stay on topic to avoid those red herrings. And most importantly, you acknowledge emotions so the other person feels truly heard, but you relentlessly examine the logic to keep the final decision sound.
Finally, we reach Section 5, Real-World Practice, where we actually train your communication reflexes.
Because just knowing the definitions isn't enough, right? By role-playing these scenarios and outlining the premises of an argument, you and your team can actively practice deploying these intervention scripts before those high-stakes meetings. Think of it like a fire drill for your brain. If you practice gently redirecting a mock strawman argument in a low-stakes environment, your muscle memory will kick in perfectly when it happens for real.
You really want to keep this critical questions list handy. It is truly amazing how much power lies in simply pausing a heated meeting and asking, wait, does everyone here actually agree on how we are defining this term? Boom! It stops the fallacy of equivocation dead in its tracks and steers everyone right back to the facts.
Because ultimately the goal here isn't to win points by shouting Latin phrases like ad hominem or post hoc. Actually, scratch that. It's never about destroying your opponent. Instead, we want to use empathy and positive framing to build stronger relationships. True communication self-defense is about clearing away the smoke and mirrors so you can actually solve the problem together.
So, armed with this playbook, you're officially ready to protect your team and your relationships from the illusion of sound logic. But it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? How many fallacies have you already fallen for today? Keep your eyes open, practice your disarm codes, and the next time someone throws a red herring your way, you'll know exactly what to do.